Over to you to ground us or start in whatever way you feel is appropriate.
All right, I'm going to go get a different necklace and then I'll be right back.
You do that.
Okay, love you.
Love you. Hi, everyone. If you're here for the live cast, you're in the right place. Dr. Kelly will be with us shortly. Sorry for some technical difficulties we encountered. We're running just a wee bit late, and we'll be getting rolling shortly. So I'm going to check a few things on the Facebook end uh, just to make sure we're all good to go. Gotta love technology when it works, right? So, if you are joining us live, it would be nice to know in the comments where you are joining us from. It's always a lovely thing to see. And I'm going to go ahead and share this over on my main feed as well. Okay. Hi, Linda, who's in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Welcome very much to you. So happy that you're here. So we'll give people a few minutes to find us. I'm just figuring out a few things here on the Facebook end, and then I'll welcome our special guest, Dr. Kellie Kirksey, and we will begin our discussion. I can't believe it's been 2 years since we've formally done one of these live, Dr. Kelly.
Oh, that long, huh?
I know we've taught in the meantime. We've taught in the last 2 years, but it was Juneteenth of 2020 that we
Oh my.
one of these more formal conversations.
Hmm.
I think were very important for us to have in 2020, but I would think are even more important for us to have in 2022, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Now is the time to continue the conversation and to center it.
Well, with that being said, I am going to turn it over to you, Dr. Kelly, to get us centered and formally started.
Okay. So the first, thank you so much, as always, Dr. Jamie. I want to thank you for sharing your platform, for sharing your privilege, for sharing your space, for sharing your open heart, and that I admire and appreciate about the person that you are. Um, so the next thing I'd like to do is before I say too much more about content, is to ask whoever is listening to begin to take some breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. In through the nose and out through the mouth. I ask you to continue breathing in that manner, and I'm going to use some sounds on my end. And as you breathe, let yourself use these sounds as a tool to soften any feelings of tension, any feelings of anxiety, any feelings of discomfort. When we have conversations about race and racism and inequality and pain and trauma and suffering, many people shut down. They shut down because it doesn't feel good. Let this drumbeat help you to soften some of those edges. Remember the breath. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Put your feet on the floor. Imagine your feet on the earth. Feeling your feet supported by the earth beneath you. Let that feel like support. Let that feel like the support that you need. And as you breathe in and as you breathe out, Notice where the tension is hiding in your body. And let your body move to soften the tension in those places. Perhaps your shoulders, perhaps your neck, perhaps your hips. Let your body move. Keep moving your breath. Releasing, softening, stretching. Stretching to connect. Pause. Closing your eyes, pausing. Feeling the sensations in your body. Noticing the rate of your resting breath. Noticing the rate of your heartbeat. Noticing the rate of the thoughts in your mind. Noticing yourself. Continuing to move your breath. And now just letting yourself bring your hands up to your forehead. Bringing both hands up to your forehead, and imagine that you're wiping away some of your old preconceived notions about race, about culture, about privilege, about white privilege, about inequality. Imagine yourself wiping away some of what you think you know. Wiping it away, maybe even flicking it off after you wipe it away and flick it off. And notice even how your hands feel on your head and your temples, maybe even going to your jawline and feeling, oh, there is tenderness there. Releasing what you've been holding. And when you're ready, just fluttering your eyes back open if you had closed your eyes. And write down anything about how you're feeling right now, of what's present in your mind. Just a word or two. It might be peaceful, crazy, tense, wild, scared, happy, whatever it is. Calm. Meeting yourself without judgment. And just noticing what you're noticing about this moment. Noticing what you're noticing about this moment. And as you are noticing what you're noticing, I want to share with you a little bit about the process that I always use when I'm talking about issues of race. So what I do for myself is I get into my body. I do a lot of shaking, a lot of dancing, a lot of silence, a lot of prayers before I go speak. Because for me, it is definitely emotional labor to talk about these topics because this is my lived experience. It's not a theoretical conversation that I read about in my multicultural counseling textbook that talked about when you're working with African Americans and when you're working with Latinos and when you're working with Asians. So I'm speaking from my lived experience, not from the cookie cutter textbook on multicultural counseling. I burned that. Oh no, I didn't say that. I didn't burn it. I didn't burn it. I didn't. Don't report me. Okay. So I go in through the body for these conversations. It's really important because whenever we're having a conversation about something that's uncomfortable, that is a prime time to do what? Dissociate. That is a prime time to dissociate. And some of you might be saying, well, what do you mean dissociate? I mean, you go out the window. You go to your grocery list, or you go back to that time on the beach, or you fall into a sleepy haze and your parasympathetic nervous system starts working overtime. And next thing you know, you're yawning and you're sleepy and you're shutting down. Or you go in an opposite direction. Your sympathetic nervous system gets you all revved up, and you just want to talk. Oh, that happened to me. Let me tell you my story. Oh, no. So when we attend to the container of our physical body and we ask the body what it needs to stay present during these conversations, that's when we're able to do work. So what I'm giving you now, I charge people a lot of money for this information. Okay? I have my doctorate in counseling and psychology, and my research was on cultural competence. And one thing that I find really repulsive, and that's a strong word, I really don't use it very often, but what I find repulsive is that since the murder of George Floyd, companies have been picking any person of color and making them the director of diversity, equity, and inclusion. You have some melanin, you have some something, you have some different characteristics from me. So come on, we're going to put you in charge now. And then that brings on a whole nother layer of stress. It's like, oh, okay, now I don't know about this. I'm Black, but now I have to be the expert. So I'm not speaking to you from a place of, oh, I'm a Black person and I can just teach you this. No, I'm speaking from a position of I have done research in this area, both empirical research and also a witness to my own life.
You have the lived experience and the knowledge, the study. Yeah.
Exactly. So I want to read something to you that I like to share with people when I'm talking about the importance of embodiment and staying in our bodies. Because perhaps even yesterday, on Juneteenth, the first time that we are collectively celebrating the national holiday of Juneteenth. Perhaps yesterday was difficult for some people.
Yeah.
Like, why we gotta celebrate that? What is that? I never heard of Juneteenth. Did that just happen last year? What is Juneteenth? Some people, I'm sure, were not happy about Juneteenth. Maybe they're happy today because they don't have to go to work. But we have to pay attention to what are those visceral feelings in the body when we even hear something like Juneteenth, or there was the horrible murder in Buffalo, the execution of Black seniors as they were grocery shopping by a white man with a, I don't remember the type of gun, but he had the N word written on the gun as he was hunting for the Black people that he knew were going to be there because he had staked it out methodically. Okay. So massacring 12 elders who are now good ancestors. How many of you even still have that in your consciousness of that thing happened? where this dude took a road trip to kill elderly Black people on purpose. And then you might want to say, well, there's been over 200 mass shootings. This is just another one. This is just, nope. I'm going to roll that on back and say, no, this was an intentional hate crime against Black bodied people. Okay. So that resonates differently with me. That resonates differently. That could have been my grandmother, my child, my husband, my cousin, could have been me. So I have a whole storyline of it could have been me. So it feels different. It feels frightening, like hunting. I mean, Dr. Jamie, what does that bring up for you to even hear about that? Like, so I'm having a conversation about these 12 Black elders that were killed by a white supremacist. And I'm not asking for anybody to chime in and say, what about this? What about that? What about this? How does it feel to just be with that? It's Black hate to be with that incident, that terroristic act
And,
of Black hate.
and since I know you want an honest answer from me about what is coming up in my body when I hear that, because I agree with everything you just said, yet there's such a sense of numbness because I'm not surprised.
Yeah, right.
Um, I wish I had all kind of answers. I don't.
Yeah.
Other than when I heard it happen, I'm not surprised. Especially because I think in a lot of ways the vitriol is worse since we've talked 2 years ago.
It is. I agree.
As Americans can be reactionary people.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like this conversation is so important because it's critical for people to even be aware that as I hear this information, I'm numb
Mm-hmm.
or I shut down because we can't engage in the work required to do the work to change the system, the systemic issues, if we are shut down. So I ascribe to a process of, and I learned this from a wise Bible study teacher years ago. Years ago, I'm gonna call her name out, Mom Pincham. I learned this from Mom Pincham that she used to always say, "Child, you have to go in order to come out. You have to go in order to come out." And when she said that, I reflected on my own life and how I live my life. That I've had so many seasons in my life where I had to go inside of myself to take care of myself, to rejuvenate, to take my tentacles out of the water. But as I was younger, what that looked like to me was depression. Oh, I must be depressed that I don't want to talk to anybody. I must be depressed that I just want to lay in the bed, cover my head up. I must be clinically depressed. Yeah, because I don't feel like being with the world. When she said that statement to me, I realized that that was me allowing myself to go inside myself to heal, to rejuvenate. Now, you imagine being a person who's been Black their whole life, okay? I've been Black my whole natural life. And I tell you, I don't want to say it's stressful all day, every day, 24/7. I'm not going to say that, but I feel it. But I'm going to say that walking in melanated skin is a challenge because someone can be taking a field trip to come into my meditation group, my church, and shoot up people like me that look like me for no other reason than because I'm Black. Like, that's a real possibility. Any day, every day, 24/7. And on the day of that massacre in Buffalo, that was the day of my son's graduation party from his master's degree in clinical counseling and rehabilitation counseling from Penn State. Summa cum laude. Okay? And this was a child that they said, oh, he's so violent. Oh, we've never seen a child so violent. Okay? So, but life can be sweet to us because I didn't even hear about it until 2 days later. Can you imagine that? Like, I literally didn't hear about that massacre until 2 days later. So I was able to feel like life was okay. I was able to be in my own fantasy world. And to a friend of mine who is a pastor in Indianapolis, she sends me a message and says, I'm thinking about you. My heart is broken, trying to figure out what my congregation needs to do after this horrible tragedy. And then I'm like, what the heck has happened now? What has happened? So let me read this to you. May we meet ourselves with compassion as we enter into this time of exploring the storehouse of our emotions. Those emotions, both spoken and called by name, as well as those nameless emotions that take up space in stiff hips and tight pursed lips. May we endeavor to meet ourselves with deep self-care, deep self-comfort, and I dare say, deep self-love as we breathe into those crevices of our torso that hold the story of our ache. As we journey back to old feelings in order to see and understand where we are here and now, as we journey back to old feelings in order to sweep out the closet of petrified emotions and dance until we create more space to live more comfortably in the temple of our body, mind, and spirit. May we meet ourselves always with deep compassion again and again and again. So we must be compassionate as we perhaps tell ourselves the story of, I've been complicit in redlining because I can live wherever I want to live. I've been complicit because I never thought about why aren't there any Black people in this neighborhood? I've been complicit because I go buy my bandages from the store, and when it says flesh color, I just say, okay. I don't think, well, there's not a bandage for Black people or brown people. There's just bandages for white flesh. And we bleed too. And we bleed too. And we want a bandage for our wounds. We want salve for our wounds as well. And to be completely honest, I want what was promised to my ancestors. I want my 40 acres and a mule. I want my reparations. So give me a federal holiday where the whole country gets to sit down on their laurels. Okay. But what are you doing for reparations? Because my children are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to be educated in institutions that were built by our ancestors. It pisses me off every time that check is written for tuition.
Mm-hmm.
Where are our reparations for the terrorism that has happened from the shores of Africa to today? Where is it? Who's asking for it? My voice isn't being heard. I've been marching for reparations since I was in high school. This is not a new conversation. So, for those of you that were around back in 1976, the bicentennial celebration, everything was red, white, and blue. And I remember dancing in the dining room that didn't have a dining room table, like spinning around, dancing and dancing, falling out, like feeling my head going, woo, you know, that woozy feeling. Like I
Yeah.
would do that all the time. Like that was like my fun thing to do. It was my take myself away from myself in my life for a minute and just laugh and just. And I remember hearing all about the bicentennial freedom, and I was a kid then, and I was like, we weren't free. Nobody that looked like me was free then. I knew that that was not my holiday. Sure, my mother was going to sew up some shorts and French vest for us to have a picnic, but I knew that that wasn't a celebration of my freedom. It's another day, and it's a day when we were in bondage. So, what's on your mind, Dr. Jamie, as you hear me just going on and going off?
That I go back to the word I said a few minutes ago, which is it's a numbness. I mean, what's going on in my mind intellectually is like, yes, 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 you're right. You know,
Mm-hmm.
preach, amen.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I think my numbness is from this place of feeling stuck in the how.
Yeah.
How do we bring about this? Because nothing, I don't want to be as cynical, but maybe I have a right to be as cynical as to say nothing seems to be working. Because I know in the work that both of us do, we see magical transformation on a one on one level.
Yeah.
Yet, systemically, I will go as far as to say things are feeling worse. And even when that word reparation is brought up, I know so many of my fellow folks with white skin, it just brings up an even greater push and vitriol to push back against that.
Yeah. And so I say reparations, 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 reparations. Talk to your Congress people, talk to your senators. If you have any feeling about Black people and what we've contributed to this country, like when you use your cell phone, do you think, oh, Black person created this? Well, that's the truth. When you go into your refrigerator, oh, Black person created the refrigerator. Oh, the stoplight, Black person created the stoplight. And I can go on and on and on and on and on. Yet, who has been stuck in a cycle of poverty because the system was created that way?
Right.
No one was ever happy with the Emancipation Proclamation. No one was happy with that
Yeah.
because who wants to work hard when you have all of these people we done brought over from Africa to work the land? Why get your hands dirty when you have these people that aren't really people? They're similar to, oh, I mean, they're not even people, period.
Mhm.
So why would you want to pay the people back who built so much of this country when we were brought over to do just that?
So, there's a question I'd like to ask you since we're on this line of inquiry here. And I know one of the subtitles of our talk was a call to action because you're the type of person, Dr. Kelly, you're always like, what's your action? What's your action? I love when you put that question out there
Yeah.
in your work. What's your action? And you named one very critical thing that is pulling this out of me that midterm elections are coming up.
Ding, 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 ding.
Know who you need to vote for and who you, if you have the privilege to do it, to support financially.
Absolutely.
I hate that I have to write a check for those purposes every month because it's like what's this democracy really about other than campaigning and the capitalism of that? But I got to do what I got to do right now is how I
Right.
feel about it.
Right.
So yeah, I'm gonna be as bold because Resma Menakem, whose work you know that I adore, his new book, The Quaking of America, and
Mhm.
props to him and Central Recovery Press for being so political
Oh yeah.
as therapists. You know, we got to vote blue, folks.
Yeah.
I'm not mincing it anymore.
Hmm. Right. And you know, I was listening to a commercial of Tim Ryan's, and Tim Ryan was like, I don't vote uh completely Democrat and completely Republican. I vote for the people. I vote for, the positions and the policies that need to take place. And I'm completely with that. And we need to know, how are people voting?
Right.
How are people voting on these issues?
And for those of you out of state, Tim Ryan is our Democratic Senate candidate here for the empty Senate seat in Ohio. He's been our representative congressionally for many years. He's a mindfulness practitioner. I mean, we all have things I think we don't agree with certain political stances, but he is our best chance.
Right.
His opponent here in Ohio is a Trump endorsed mouthpiece.
Please vote, please. Please vote. And and not just vote, but go to the polls with information,
Mhm.
and use this time to go talk to the people on the ballot about what their positions are, and think about what's important to you as a citizen. What are you standing for? Because you'll sit down for anything. We have to stand for something. And
Sorry.
no, go ahead.
The second part of the question I wanted to make sure I asked you because I know you have opened yourself up freely for me asking you
Oh
questions like,
yeah.
which is when we talk about reparations, how can the average white-bodied person who wants to engage in the payment of, because I think a lot of us feel like, what do I have to write my black friends a check, or do I have to,
I'll take it.
what if I don't have the money, how do I do it? um
Right.
Especially knowing that people are in different places, what their means, what does reparations mean, and how can we just in our daily lives um repair?
Yeah. I mean, I think supporting people of color in their businesses is huge. Like myself as a consultant, you, I could tell people my fee, and then they'll go, "Oh, she charging?" I'm like, "I'm off the plantation, people.
Yeah.
I'm off the plantation, so I'm not, like, I'm doing this today for free. This is a public service announcement for free, okay?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
because I chose it. Because I chose it." And Dr. James was like, "Girl, come on, doctor, come on." But you can't imagine the number of times that people say, I was down in the flats in Cleveland a couple weeks ago, met this lovely lady, like she literally was across the table from me, and she goes, "Are you a therapist?"
Mm.
I was like, "Yes, I am." She goes, "You just feel like a therapist." And we start talking, and then she was like, "Would you come to my school to speak?" And I said, "Oh gosh, I would love that because I'm from Cleveland." And then I told her my fee, and she was like, "Oh, we don't have any money."
Hmm.
I said, "So you asked me to come speak, but you don't have any money." I said, "I'm going to be really honest with you and say, you sit with a level of privilege where if something is an issue is important to you, you will raise the money so that you can pay the professional
Right.
the wage that they ask for so they can live."
Hmm.
Okay? Because my benevolent ancestors and some not so benevolent ancestors have worked and worked and worked for no money.
Yeah.
And so now you're going to ask me to give you a talk for $75.50? Are you kidding? I have over 30 years of experience. So being able to pay people a good wage for their work, to pay people of color and not expect everything for free or at a discount, not try to talk people down. And that's really important. That's really important. And be benevolent. Like be benevolent and say, Here's for your cause. Here's for your cause. Some of us can't afford the care facility that our parents are in. Our parents who worked themselves to their bones. Here's for their cause. And then the line item put reparations. Let that be noticed. People are posting on social media all the time. I ask the question, if you believe in your heart that people of color, Black people, descendants of those that survived the Middle Passage, if you believe that we are worthy of reparations for the atrocities that we've gone through, then get your friends to offer reparations. Hey, I want to buy your daughters or your cousins books for college. And they could probably pay for their books for college, but as an act of reparations are important. People post on social media, oh, I did this, I did that. I paid some reparations today. I bought this lady's groceries. She had the money, but I bought that person's groceries because I believe in reparations. So hashtag I believe in reparations. And then saying it. Because what we put out in the atmosphere is contagious. Is contagious. If someone pays for me at Starbucks, I'm going to pay for the person behind me because I feel good that I did that. And so reparations for me is always about access to healthcare, good healthcare. It's about education. It's about technical training. It's about getting home loans where we want to build a home or have a home. It's about access to training. It's about all of the things that can assist in shifting these systemic ills that were built into the system so that we can stay under here in the belly of the slave ship. Without chains, but still in bondage. I had a client once, an elderly client, white woman, very nice white lady, fine, beautiful. One day she came to me crying. And not even to my office, like in the hallway. Like she just crying. And I was like, what's going on? She's like, can I just talk to you for a second? Over here. So we go over into the corner and she starts telling me the story of how she was a little girl and her dad worked for the bank. And every day she would hear about redlining. Every day she would hear about how her dad and the other people at the bank were strategizing to keep Black people out of certain neighborhoods, to keep them from owning homes. Do you know what our wealth potential would have been like if we could have owned homes in certain areas or bought property? Yeah. So through what I just shared, I hope I did give you some concrete steps for people that believe in reparations. Take it upon yourself and push your elected officials to do something. So Ohio could do something for reparations if they chose to.
Let me ask you this, because as I told you before the chat and during the chat, I am speaking this today from a place of very defeated numbness about a lot of stuff that's going on in the world. And I know in previous conversations you've had with me, you have highlighted this importance of contacting your elected officials, and I continue to do it even though I feel it doesn't work.
Yep.
So I don't know if you have any experience, strength, and hope to that frustration, because I just kind of look at some of my elected officials in my state and could get frustrated that they're bought and paid for by the NRA or this organization, right. This organization. Is it all like just a capitalistic enterprise at this point that we can't even begin to shift, no matter how good our intentions are?
Well, I'm going to say, like we like to say, both and. All right? Okay? Because that's really it. It's like, so part of that is completely true. And there are some people really out there working to make sustainable change. And there's something that we can do in terms of raising our voices and using our vote. So that's one thing. And then there's another thing we can do in our everyday life,
Yeah.
in our everyday life on a very personal, intimate level. So I remember I did a drum circle right after George Floyd was murdered. You were there, a lot of other people were there. That next week after the drum circle, two people sent me gift certificates for a massage and
Mm-hmm.
wrote a little note, take care of yourself,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
anonymously. That meant so much. Like that act meant so much. So there's things that we can do as an individual person to know that we are doing what we can do where we are. And then there's this other side of I'm going to hold my political people accountable, right? So it's both and on those days when you feel like you can't do it anymore, that you're just hopeless, go refresh. Like hit the refresh button. Go inside.
Mm.
Go
You have to go
inside.
in order to come out.
That's right.
From Ma Pinchum, like you say.
Yes, Mom Pinchum. I thank Mom Pinchum. She is a good ancestor. Go inside. So when you feel that apathy coming on, when you feel that why bother come on, go inside and give yourself some healing salve. Get what you need to refresh so that you can come back out.
So, because we're running low on time, Dr. Kelly, I'm wondering if you can lead us through a practice or speak a word of encouragement about going inside.
Yeah.
Because that's a big thing I will take from this
Yeah.
conversation
Yeah.
today.
So, one of the practices that I engage in that's so simple is just that breath. It's like, may I return to my breath. May I return to my breath as I journey inside. So, let yourself have a tall spine. Letting yourself have a tall spine, rising up through the crown of your head, bringing your chin comfortably parallel to the earth, softening that place right in between your eyebrow center, releasing the tongue from the roof of your mouth, softening your jaw, bringing your attention to the front of your neck, imagining that you're releasing anything that's been held there, words that you wanted to say and felt like you couldn't, emotions that you didn't want to admit to yourself, that pain story. Soften in the throat center. Give yourself some space to express. Bringing your attention to your shoulders, softening your shoulders. Imagine that the shoulders are sliding down your arms, feeling a weight moving down through your arms into your hands. Feel the weight releasing from your fingertips. And staying with your breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And now just let your body just sway gently right and left, right and left. A gentle rocking, letting the shoulders move gently right and left, softening the body. Perhaps the spine begins to curl into a C shape. Perhaps your chin begins to drop down to your chest as you let yourself sway from right to left. Perhaps you even want to push away from your seat and then lean on your thighs with your forearms moving right and left, letting go of a little bit of the heaviness, of a little bit of the weight that makes you pause. Right and left, right and left, bringing your body back upright and taking your hands and just clapping your hands down on your lap, clapping the hands down on the lap. Continue to breathe. Now clapping those hands right up the thighs, right up the lower belly, right up into the rib cage. Breathing, clapping right up into the heart center. Good. Clapping the top of the shoulders. And if that feels uncomfortable, just imagine yourself clapping at the top of the shoulders. Now bringing the hands to the top of the head and just clapping on the head all over, all around, front, back, sides. Oh, stimulating the head, tapping, 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 and definitely at the top of the head because there are some wonderful pressure points up there that relieve anxiety and stress. Tapping to the back of the head, back of the neck, all the way back up to the top of the head and to the front of the head, the front of the forehead, tapping, tapping, tapping to the temple area and rubbing here, massaging. Inhaling, exhaling. And if you're like me in any way, you might feel a little tension there. So just attending to. And I like to bring my elbows close into my body because my arms don't get heavy and tired that way. There's some physical support in using the elbows to make a container of the body. Breathing in and out, massaging, caring for the nervous system. Caring for the nervous system. Caring for the physical body that contains your thoughts, your emotions. Attending. When you're ready, resting the hands down. Continuing to move your breath. Feeling your fingers, the subtle sensations, the subtle energy there. When you're ready, fluttering your eyes open and just writing down how you're feeling in your physical body at this moment. What are the physical sensations that you're noticing in your body at this moment? So now go into your emotional body and what are the state of your emotions at this moment? And as you're even writing this, continue to attend to whatever the body needs. Like my shoulders are still a little bit tight, so I can keep moving the shoulders. There's no rules here. Make your own rule for what your body needs, for what your emotions want, how the emotions want to exit so that you can be. And then the last part of this inquiry is, what is your action? What can you do as an individual? And one thing I believe in deeply is that people need to challenge the educational system to teach real history, not just the history of white people in America, but the history of all people. And if I were a white person, I would be pissed off that I didn't know more about Black people or the indigenous people or Asian people and what they've contributed to this country. I would be pissed off. It's like, what? I only get to know what white people have been doing? And that's a revisionist history? That happens, people. I've been in other countries where they've been very clear and transparent with me. Yes, we altered the history so that the citizens can be compliant. Because if we tell the truth, they won't like it. So we changed the history books. And that was when I was in the Dominican Republic and they were talking about their pact between Haiti and the Dominican Republic and what they had to do to keep that system of oppression in place from a systemic level. So, what is your action?
And the final thing I want to say, reading some comments here, totally pissed off, totally pissed off. Yes, I remember the first time I read the book, Lies My Teacher Told Me. Like, yes.
It's like, demand more, people. Demand more.
About history cementing systems of oppression that serve the ruling class. I saw the greatest meme, and we posted it here on ICM a few days ago, which is maybe the reason some therapists and some therapeutic systems are saying this is apolitical is because that therapy is an instrument to keep the status quo in place.
Hello.
The props to whoever put that meme out. You can look on the ICM page to see it. I was just like, yes, yes. And that's why if you are a therapist listening to this, I know we can get very dainty and not wanting to piss people off because there's a lot of therapists who are not aligned with what Kellie and I are talking about today. And you got to look at that, my friends.
Right. Yeah.
Got to look at that.
Yeah. So, in closing, I'm just going to say, and I appreciate the time and the platform to be able to express myself and to share these things that are desperately important to me because it is a horrible feeling to have that fear for my family members' lives running in the background of my life at all times. My wish is to be light. My wish is to be light.
That is my wish for you, my friend, and I thank you as ever for sharing your presence and your knowledge with us today. Ashe, ashe.
Ashe, ashe.